The galaxy had forgotten about Earth. 3,000 years had passed since the Great Purge, when the Dominion Council decided that the primitive blue planet on the edge of the Orion Arm was too dangerous to exist. The species that lived there, they said, were violent, unpredictable, and worst of all, they bred too fast. So the Council sent the cleansing fleet. 40,000 warships descended upon the small world. They burned the cities, poisoned the oceans, and left nothing but ash and silence behind. Or so they believed. In the centuries that followed, humans became stories. Parents told their children about the strange creatures with soft skin and stubborn hearts. They were monsters in bedtime tales, demons in religious texts, and ghosts in old navigation warnings. The Dominion erased every record, every image, every trace of human existence. After 1,000 years, even the location of Earth was forgotten. After 2,000 years, most species stopped believing humans had ever existed at all. Commander of the Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Silence. He was a towering creature with 4 arms and scales that shimmered like liquid metal. His species had ruled 70 star systems for 10,000 years. They feared nothing. They bowed to no one. And they certainly did not believe in myths. "Sir," his navigation officer said, "we are receiving a distress signal from the mining colony on Theta 7. Turned his massive head. "What kind of distress?" "They claim they are under attack." "By whom?" The officer hesitated. His claws trembled over the console. They say it is humans, Commander." Laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the bridge. Every officer turned to look at him. "Humans," he repeated, as if the word itself was a joke. "Someone is playing tricks. Send a patrol to investigate and arrest whoever is responsible for this foolishness." He dismissed the matter from his mind. There were more important things to worry about. The Empire was expanding, conquering new worlds, building new weapons. They had no time for ghost stories. 3 days later, the patrol ships never returned. Sent 10 more ships. They vanished without a trace. No distress calls, no debris, no explanation. It was as if they had simply stopped existing. Now the commander was paying attention. He gathered a fleet of 200 warships and traveled to Theta 7 himself. What he found there changed everything he believed about the universe. The mining colony was gone, not destroyed, not abandoned, gone. The entire facility, along with 3 million workers, had disappeared. In its place was a crater so deep that sensors could not find the bottom, and floating above that crater was a single ship. It was small, perhaps 1/10 the size of his flagship. Its design was unlike anything in the Dominion database. The hull was dark, almost black, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. There were no visible weapons, no shields, no engine signatures. It simply hung there, silent and waiting. "Scan it," ordered. His officers tried. Their instruments returned nothing. It was as if the ship did not exist. "Open a communication channel." Static filled the bridge. Then slowly, a voice emerged. It spoke in the language, but with an accent that made scales stand on end. 3,000 years, the voice said. 3,000 years we waited. 3,000 years we prepared. And now we have returned. Gripped the arms of his command chair. "Identify yourself." "You know who we are, Commander. Your ancestors tried to erase us from existence. They thought fire and poison could kill us. They were wrong. This is impossible. Humans are extinct. The Great Purge." The Great Purge failed. The connection went dead. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the small black ship began to glow. Energy rippled across its surface like waves on dark water. Officers screamed warnings, but their voices seemed distant, unimportant. The light exploded outward. When regained consciousness, he was alone. His flagship was drifting, powerless and broken. 200 warships had been reduced to scattered atoms. He was the only survivor, left alive deliberately, left alive to deliver a message. The message arrived 3 hours later, broadcast on every frequency in the galaxy. To the Dominion Council and all who serve them, we are the humans of Earth. We are the children of those you murdered. We are the ghosts you failed to kill. You burned our world, but we escaped. You hunted us, but we hid. You forgot us, but we remembered everything. We remembered the fire that consumed our cities. We remembered the screams of our families. We remembered the silence that followed. And we have spent 3,000 years preparing our response. The message continued with coordinates. Hundreds of them. Every major Dominion world, every military installation, every council meeting place. And next to each coordinate was a countdown. The Dominion Council dismissed it as a bluff. They sent their greatest fleet to the first location on the list, a small moon where the human signal seemed to originate. 15,000 ships carrying the best soldiers in the galaxy. They arrived confident of victory. The moon detonated. Not exploded, detonated. The humans had somehow converted the entire celestial body into a weapon. The blast vaporized the fleet instantly. The shockwave destroyed 3 nearby planets, and when the light faded, a new message appeared in the sky, written in burning plasma that could be seen from 100 light-years away. This is only the beginning. Panic spread through the Dominion like a disease. Species that had ruled fled their home worlds. Military commanders abandoned their posts. The Council itself went into hiding, sealing themselves in a fortress at the center of the galaxy, protected by every weapon and shield technology ever invented. It did not matter. The humans came anyway. They emerged from the darkness between stars, from dimensions that should not exist, from places the Dominion had never imagined. Their ships were black and silent and utterly unstoppable. Dominion weapons passed through them like light through water. Dominion shields collapsed at their touch. And the humans never spoke, never negotiated, never showed mercy. They simply destroyed. One by one, the worlds on the list fell. The countdowns reached 0, and entire civilizations vanished. The empire, ancient and proud, was reduced to rubble in 3 days. The Vex Collective, masters of biological warfare, were consumed by a plague they could not understand. The Quantum Lords, who had evolved beyond physical form, were somehow pulled back into bodies and burned alive. Commander watched it all from his crippled ship. He had become a witness, a recorder of the apocalypse. The humans seemed to want him alive. They wanted someone to remember. When the Dominion Council finally was brought before the human leaders. He expected monsters. He expected demons with blood on their claws and hatred in their eyes. Instead, he found ordinary beings. They were small, fragile-looking, with soft skin and strange, flat faces. They looked nothing like the terrors of legend. But their eyes held 3,000 years of patience, 3,000 years of rage, 3,000 years of waiting in the cold darkness of space, surviving on nothing but the promise of revenge. Why? Asked. We are sorry. The current generations had nothing to do with the purge. Why punish children for the sins of their ancestors? The human leader was a woman. She was old, her hair white and her skin lined with age. But she stood straight and her voice was steady. 3,000 years ago, she said, my ancestors begged for mercy. They sent messages to the Dominion. They offered peace. They offered friendship. They offered anything, everything, just to be left alone. Do you know what the Council said? Remain silent. They said that mercy was a weakness. They said that extinction was the only solution. They said that leaving even one human alive was a risk too great to take. She stepped closer, close enough for to see his reflection in her ancient eyes. They were right. The war ended not with a battle but with silence. The great civilizations of the Dominion, those that had ruled the galaxy for 100,000 years, ceased to exist. Their worlds were left empty, their monuments crumbled to dust. The humans did not conquer or enslave. They simply erased. But they were not finished. In the decades that followed, the remaining species of the galaxy lived in terror. They dismantled their armies, destroyed their weapons, and waited for the humans to come for them. Some prayed, some fled, some tried to hide. None succeeded. The humans found everyone. But not everyone faced destruction. The humans were precise in their vengeance. They studied the histories of every species, examined every record, analyzed every decision made during the Great Purge. Those who had participated, those who had celebrated, those who had benefited from humanity's destruction, they were the ones who fell. Those who had objected, those who had tried to help, those who had hidden human refugees at the cost of their own lives, they were the ones who survived. The humans remembered everything, the good and the bad. When the last Dominion stronghold fell, the humans retreated to their rebuilt Earth. The planet had been restored somehow, its oceans blue again, its forests green, its cities rising from the ashes. They called it home, and they sealed it behind a barrier that no technology could penetrate. Before they vanished, they sent one final message to the galaxy. We were called a myth, we were called monsters, we were called ghosts and demons and things that go bump in the night, but we were none of those things. We were simply a species that wanted to live. You tried to take that from us. You failed. Now you know why. Remember this lesson. Remember what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. Remember what happens when you try to exterminate a species that refuses to die. We will be watching, always watching. And if any of you ever think about repeating history, we will return. And next time, there will be no survivors left to deliver messages. The galaxy entered a new age. It was an age of peace, not because the species loved one another, but because they feared what waited behind that silent barrier around Earth. Wars stopped. Aggression faded. The universe learned, finally, that some myths are better left undisturbed. And on Earth, the last humans lived quietly, raising their children, tending their gardens, and waiting for the day when someone would forget the lesson, waiting for the day when they would need to teach it again. Commander spent his remaining years writing his account of the human retribution. It became required reading across the galaxy. The final line of his book was quoted for generations afterward. They were never a myth, they were always real. They were waiting in the darkness, patient as stones, eternal as stars. And when they finally moved, nothing in the universe could stop them. Nothing ever will.